Do not make these 3 mistakes. How many calories to track on Zepbound? Hi, beautiful friends. I'm Elizabeth, Countess of Shopping. I have lost over 103 pounds the last 2 years of being on Zepbound, Mounjaro, and Tirzepatide compound. The reason why the 3 is because of the shortages, but it's the same thing. It's Tirzepatide for Mounjaro and Zepbound. And on today's episode, I get asked over and over and over, how many calories per day do I have on Zepbound weight loss and Tirzepatide weight loss? And so I always like to start off my videos. I'm not a healthcare provider. I'm not a dietitian. I'm simply a chickadee who has a really strong experience, strength, and hope talking about my weight loss journey to hopefully help encourage you and help encourage you to then talk to a healthcare provider, a dietitian, and spark some ideas for those conversations. But this is what's worked well with me for my Avengers team, as I like to call it, on my Zepbound weight loss journey. I've assembled a team, Avengers Assemble. I've assembled a team of really awesome people who've helped me. And hopefully on today's video, you'll avoid, I said 3 mistakes, but it's actually 4 mistakes. I've included a bonus of mistakes I made when figuring out, okay, how many calories per day do I have on Zepbound? Because it has changed over the last 2 years. The way that I've done this has dramatically changed from when I started being morbidly obese to now where I am to almost, I'm still technically considered with my BMI, technically considered overweight, but soon to be in a healthy weight range over the last 2 years of working on this and coming from a really, really, I don't like to say unhealthy relationship because it's not a relationship with food, an unhealthy perspective of food that I've now changed into a healthy one. So we're going to talk about calories per day. I have a free calorie calculator for you on countessofshopping.com. I'll link it down in the description link below. My gift to you for being part of the Countess of Shopping community. It has a specific formula. There's a couple of different types of formulas for calorie calculators that you can use. And so it's linked on my website, which all of the resources I'm talking about today will be in the description link below. So check those out. But that free calorie calculator will hopefully help give for me, it's not the end all be all. It is a guide or a rough draft as I kind of figure this out and go through. So I was like, I don't even know how many calories I'm supposed to be having. And we're going to talk about one of the mistakes with this too, though. So make sure you stay till the bonus one at the end as well. Let's dive in. Tip number 1. On Zepbound, we have part of the amazing gift of Zepbound and Mounjaro. You can, and if you're on Wegovy too, share this video with your Wegovy friends as well. They're lumped in with GLP-1 people. We typically have less hunger at the beginning. For me, I'll use my I statements. The first 24 to 36 hours, I have way less hunger than I do on day 6 and day 7. 2 different ball games. Appetite suppression, I ride that wave, honey. If you haven't seen my video on riding the wave of appetite suppression, you need to. But having in there, oops, that's not the page I wanted to show you. Having in there that less hunger, utilizing that to my benefit. I'm paying out of pocket. I'm paying a lot. I'm paying thousands of dollars per year for this medication. I want to ensure I'm maximizing that decrease in hunger. And so with that, one of the important things is my calories have changed as I've gone through this journey. And I'm blessed. And I was literally charging it right before the show. I wear a Google Pixel that I've been testing against my Oura Ring, both of which are charging right now. And on it, I pulled up my calories over the last 6 days. And so it was, for example, my calories burned with that. And so figuring that out, I'm going to deep dive into that. But basically, the Mayo Clinic tells us if we want to lose 2 pounds per week, how much is a pound in calories? It's 3,500. My source is the mayoclinic.org. And so if I want to lose 2 pounds per week, because a healthy weight range is a half a pound to 2 pounds per week, that's 3,500 calories times 2 is 7,000 calories in a week. Well, if I did that on each day, I basically need to have a calorie deficit of 1,000 calories per day. And so what's really, really helpful, and I'll link down below the watch and the Oura Ring, is being able to see exactly my data of how many calories I've burned in a given day. But with that less hunger piece, some days I'm not going to eat that. Some days I'm ready, honey. I'm ready. And so for me, at the beginning of this journey, I just ate that calorie range. But then I was like, what happens when I eat more than that when I'm hungrier near the end of it? And so for me, This is one of the mistakes I had made is I was very rigid in being like, okay, for me, it's 1,500 calories. Very rigid in that. Well, oh, I've gone over. That's going to affect, I need to be in a calorie deficit of 1,000 calories. So figuring out how many calories I burn per day helped me figure out what that deficit should be. So for example, I pulled up the last, on my little chart here, the last week's worth of calories burned. And it varied anywhere from 3,900 calories to 2,581 calories. And it varied in between there, all the way down, yeah, to 2,200 was the lowest. So I took the average of that, and it was average 3,065 calories per day I burn. And so I would want a 1,000 calorie deficit of that. So that's around 2,000 calories per day. And you may say, Elizabeth, you just said 1,500 calories. Yes, I did. And that was one of my mistakes within this. This is why I'm totally sharing it with you as one of my mistakes, is figuring out this less hungry piece, because then I can move and shift. So say, for example, my shot day's on Monday. I may be consuming different calories than I am on Sunday by the end of the week. And so recognizing that and figuring out what works best for me. And that's what I want to encourage you to figure out what works best for you. Knowledge is power. So knowing that we may be less hungry on Zepbound or Mounjaro or Tirzepatide or Wegovy or semaglutide or Ozempic, that we're going to be less hungry. Because the literature tells us that. That's not just me. That's not my opinion. That is factually scientific data with that, is we are going to have appetite suppression. And if we don't, for some people who don't, so some people don't have appetite suppression or less hunger, you may at a higher dose. If you're not experiencing that less hungry component of it, great, then this will make it a little bit easier for you with your calories. Well, that's also a blessing too, in a roundabout way. We could take the positive of it. Number two, the second biggest mistake that I had made, in addition to being less hungry, was the vitamins. Because I was substantially eating, I was eating, 3 portions at a meal, down to basically like a salad plate worth, my portion sizes changed. And so I want to encourage you, within those portion sizes, are you getting proper vitamins? I was not. And I took examples from bariatric patients, who there was a bunch of studies done, if you look back to our bariatric or gastric bypass sleeve brothers and sisters, about vitamin deficiencies within that. And I was like, when I started 2 years ago taking Zepbound, I'm like, I need to focus in on a really, really good daily vitamin. And so for me, one of the best things that I got was taking gem vitamins. They're bite-sized, it's real food. They're bite-sized. They were literally created with scientific data, and also from a pastry chef came in to help make them taste good. But my biggest thing, look how big, they're so cute. They're so cute. They're a little bite size. And I'm not gonna eat it on camera because I know some of you guys hate the sound of chewing, so I won't chew on camera, but these are delicious. I typically have mine in the afternoon with my afternoon coffee after I've had a meal. But it has in there, and one of the things that I really love about Gem Bites is the bone and brain health. I have been worried about my muscle mass loss, and also because of that muscle mass loss that comes with substantial weight loss, my bone health. And so one of the best things in Gem, there's many, many, many things, which is why I've been taking it for so long. I mean, I've been on it for forever with the Gem Bites, is it has K2 in it from the chickpeas that are included in here. And it also has vitamin D2, which helps with bone and brain health from the mushrooms and the pumpkin seeds. And so that, for me, having those different vitamins in there for bone and brain health specifically, very, very helpful with a substantial weight loss. In addition, this time of year, it's snowing outside. It's really icy here in Virginia. And so my energy and my mood has fluctuated. One of the things I'm super, super grateful about with the Gem Bites on there too is mood. It has vitamin D, and that comes from the quinoa in it. And then also with mood, the vitamin D comes from mushrooms and the beta glucan from algae. And so it's helping me because I'm having these smaller portions, and because it's bite size, it's only 35 calories. Very, very helpful. 1 gram of protein in there too. Woohoo! You guys know I track my protein. Oh, check that protein. That has been a game changer in terms of these portion sizes, in tracking my calories and knowing in that amount that I'm having within those calories is nutrient dense food, right? Like, isn't that the whole goal, to have really nutrient dense food within the food that we're eating? And so for me, Gem Bites have been such a blessing and such a saving grace that I highly recommend them. Gem has been super, super kind to give us a discount. You can go to dailygem.com/queen, use the discount code QUEEN. It's a discount off of your first month subscription with it. I am obsessed, and I love whenever my Gem box comes, I'm like, woo! I love it. Because it really does, for me, make a big difference in bone health and energy. And it does have pre and probiotics to help with digestion and a bunch of other things. But with right now, with the sky being gray in the winter months, that vitamin B in there, B vitamin to help with my mood and my energy. Yes. Yes, I'll take that. Mistake number 3 was I started to change my movement on Zepbound. Like, I've gotten really physically active. I lift, I do Pilates, I walk 2 to 6 miles per day. I walk the dogs, Fred and Wilma. And so walking that much and weight training, my movement has changed. So therefore, my calories per day have changed. And so I have gone back over to my little free calorie calculator, and I've had to change my active lifestyle. My lifestyle was sedentary, and now it moved to light activity, and now I'm active. Pew, pew, pew. So I'm like super excited about that. I'm like, yay! So that's giving me more calories to eat in a given day with still being in a calorie deficit. Now, have I run, I know there's going to be naysayers out there, have I run all this past and sought counsel, seeking wise counsel through a dietitian and other people who are smarter than me? Hex yeah. Hex yeah. I sure have. And so I want to encourage you, these tips are again to help. I want to reaffirm that to help encourage you to talk to your healthcare provider. Always talk to your healthcare provider before taking supplements, and talk to them before making dietary changes and talking to professionals on that. But for me, these have been super big mistakes that also then I'm like, oh, I'm so hungry. Well, I'm so hungry because my movement changed. And I'm so hungry my movement changed, which is great. I mean, hello, pat on my back. But my calories need to change with that too, particularly now since it's been a lifestyle change. And when we go to Eli Lilly's literature on Zepbound.com, it tells us in the literature 2 things: that we do need to have a reduced calorie diet. It tells us straight out of the gate, and it tells us we need to have a physical activity change. So a reduced calorie diet. And so that for me is where I've been like deep diving in all the stuff of figuring it out. You can do 10 million different food plans or meal plans. I have a free one on my website. I would love, feel free to get it. It was dietitian created, a GLP-1 dietitian created. But just picking something that you know that would work for you, right? And then testing it and trying it out. Now I'm like Goldilocks. Was she the one who tried the beds? Yes, it was Goldilocks. Tried all these different beds, and I'm like, no, that bed's too firm. No, that bed's too soft. With meal plans of finding something, and now I found stuff I love. I want to encourage you to find within these foods you love and a method that you love, to figure this out best for you for how many calories per day. For me, it's 1,500. It's now increased up to about 1,700 to 1,800 because of my physical activity. I'm almost 5'11". And also as my weight has changed, the change in movement and change in weight, I need to reset my calories as my weight has changed and I've dropped weight. It's not the same amount as it once was. And so I want to encourage you to, you may need to come back to countessofshopping.com to that free calculator tracker and recheck in a couple times. You know what I mean? Like throughout, as you change movement, as your weight is continuing to drop, it is going to change. Change is a great thing. That's why we have opposable thumbs. Evolution, we are changers. It's a good thing. We embrace change. It can be scary, but embracing that and embracing that calorie deficit as it continues to decrease. That used to scare me. Somebody who's morbidly obese, who's had a unhealthy perspective with food, and changing that perspective, which has been major, by the way, like just that right there, I'm like, yes, to now be like, I have a fairly healthy perspective with food. The calorie deficit going into that, it scared me being like, ooh, how am I, as a gorilla would say, ooh, how do I, how do I go with this reduction? That really scared me. So if it scares you, talk to somebody about it, right? Like I feel like talking about that. And then I was like, okay, I'm not scared anymore. I'm not scared anymore. I recognize that there's some fear in there. That fear is coming from an unhealthy perspective of food. Let me work on that. Let me heal that and let me move forward. The other thing, mistake number 4, this is the bonus one, is tracking my calories. Again, kind of like Goldilocks, I've had to find a couple of different methods to track my calories. I did not want to track calories. You know why? Because of my unhealthy perspective with food previously. And having been on a diet since elementary school, that jacked me up in terms of food and calories in, calories out, 1990s mentality. Eat less, move more, which is true, but not the toxic nature in which that packaging came with. We've rebranded it. We need to be in a calorie deficit. But I having an unhealthy perspective of food, my portion sizes were so skewed. So tracking calories has actually been one of the best loving choices for me, which if you caught me even a year ago, I would not have said that. But it has been a loving, kind, compassionate choice to learn what an accurate portion size realistically really is. What really is a cup? What really is a half of a cup? What is a tablespoon? What is a teaspoon? What does that look like? Well, how I've learned what that looks like is tracking calories. And when I don't track calories, I overeat. There was a study recently done about how much extra people consume when they don't track calories. It's a lot. You probably are under Americans and my UK friends who are tuning in and Aussie friends, it may be slightly different data, but for US, it was something, and I'm not citing my source. You guys know I'm like compulsive about citing my scientific data. I don't have the data to back that, but it was something like an extra 10%. And for me, that was true. And the mistake in that is I wouldn't track calories because of unhealthy baggage, not just baggage, suitcases. You could just pull suitcases with unhealthy baggage with that. And so healing that perspective with food enabled me to track calories with that. And so I want to encourage you, track the dang calories however you see fit. For me, I would Google and then I would text myself the calories from the Google search, and then I would just add it in a calculator and text myself over the course of the day. That worked really, really well. I have a lifting coach now, and my lifting coach is making me track my calories in my Fitness Pal. So I am, because he told me to, and I'm trying to be a good student to the teacher. So I'm tracking my calories, and it's free in my Fitness Pal. I don't have the premium version like at all. Very, very helpful to track my calories. And so, like, for example, the past 2 days, 2 days ago, I was ravenously hungry. I had hit my protein goals. And so protein, major part of my food now, is I have 125 to 150 grams of protein per day within that calorie range. And so hitting that, I still was hungry. And so I went over calories because I was hungry. It's sometimes the time of the month. It wasn't that I was wanting to snack. It was legitimately my body was saying, Elizabeth, you are hungry. I was checking in with my signals, checking in with my body. I'm like, I'm hungry. I'm going to eat something. And I ate healthy food. I had some Faya Greek yogurt, some fruit on there, put a little bit of chia seeds. And so that pushed me over my calorie range. Well, you know what I did yesterday? I ended up, like, the math is mathing. I ended up having less calories yesterday because I wasn't as hungry. And so it balanced out, which is why I told you about the average earlier, about how many average calories I burned and then how many average calories I'm consuming. And so for me, this has been so eye-opening learning all of this. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm like blown away. I'm like, wow, I just had no idea. And so as I continue to learn these things, I want to share them with you guys because maybe you're further ahead of me or maybe you're further behind, but some of us are turtles. And the turtle process with this weight loss journey, part of that, thanks, by the way, Pamela, for getting me my turtle. Part of that process with this weight loss journey has been learning these things about food and the mistakes within that. And so tracking those has also required a new mindset of, I don't think I'm going to track for the rest of my life, but for now, it's a thing. Like, it's just what I do. And I'm tracking it. I'm tracking that, and I'm tracking lifting, and I'm tracking how many miles I'm walking in a day. Like, there's lots of stuff I'm tracking. And so as a business owner, like, I come from a business mindset. I've started from scratch 3 multi-million-dollar companies. And so I love tracking because the track number grows. We know that when we do a business, when we start a company, or when we're in the middle of growing a company, we've got to track certain metrics, right? We can't change things if you don't have the data. And so that same principle, that loving, kind, gracious principle, applies to my body too. I just need to track some stuff. And that's okay. It's not a emotional thing. It's not a moral failing on it. It's not like the previous baggage with that. It literally would make me emotional. And now I don't have that response at all. And so if you find yourself having these emotional responses with food, like I did, like I keep saying, I've had an unhealthy perspective with food. I don't really anymore. I feel like it's a healthy perspective now. With that, with my Zepbound, has been one of the best gifts. Then talk to somebody about it, right? Like, I've had to hire, I told you I have an Avengers team coming in to help me with some of these things, right? As I go through. So if you find yourself getting resistant to tracking or at a gridlock with it, that is something to look at. For me, I'll use my I statements. For me, when there was a gridlock or resistance, or why am I having friction, to just put it in the app. Just put it in the dang app. And if it's not easy, you're not going to do it. Right? Like systems. It all goes back, if you read the book Atomic Habits, when you guys had recommended this to me, thank you, by the way, it comes back to systems. when we're getting tripped up, it's systems based. So what is the system based for you tracking? Do you have something that's easy, that's sustainable, that you enjoy? Like those are some of the metrics for me in which I use. So I'm super, super stoked about this. Being able to use these strategies to help with my weight loss. Like that, this is so motivating to me of like, oh, I can take back my power and control. Before it was like, this is so uncontrollable. I can take back the manageability for what I can do. Things I can change, things I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference. For me, the serenity prayer means everything. And so knowing the difference in here of I can track that. That's within my control. I can choose certain foods and learn about those foods. Okay, Value Greek yogurt is 80 calories or 90 calories, somewhere in that ball, 80 or 90 calories. And it has in there like 18 grams of protein, 17 grams of protein. See, I don't know off the top of my head, which is why I have to track. But figuring these things out and then checking, I have a little scale. That's linked on my Amazon shopping list, a food scale. I used to test that thing. I actually really like it now because it gives me an accurate perspective of what a healthy meal is for me. Not for you, but for my body and for what my body is doing with lifting and walking and exercise and all of these things to make myself stronger. I'm working on doing a pull-up. If you guys didn't see my Countess of Shopping Instagram reel that I did, I was talking about how my goal this year is to do a pull-up unassisted. So I've been working on that. And so building that requires fuel and good fuel at that. So if you have interest in learning about more protein within the calories, I've done a ton of videos on those. If you have of what's working well for me for protein, let me know down in the comments below. Happy to help answer those. And our accountability question today is, what are you doing today to move you closer to your goals? Tell me in the comments below. And our emoji of the day is a gem. You know how they have like the diamond emoji? That is what today's emoji is. So that tells me, people are like, what's the emoji of the day? It's like our bat signal to tell me that you made it this far in the video. So I'll pray over you. If you don't believe in prayer, I'll uplift you in positive thought. But also it helps me to get to know you better because I truly do care about you. If you've made it this far in the video, I truly do care. Like, I'm so incredibly grateful to be on this journey with you. And so is Wilma. That might be Mr. Freddie. One of the two of them, whoever is barking now, means the FedEx guy is delivering. Maybe they're delivering my next box of Gem. I love you guys so super much. Make sure you go to Gem's website, dailygem.com/queen, dailygem.com/queen. Use the discount code QUEEN to take advantage of the discount off of your first month. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. I'm Countess of Shopping. Count my blessings because life is delicious. I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Mr. Freddie and Wilma will see you tomorrow too. Bye, guys.